is black and white. Most things are fairly black and white.
They're
way more black and white.
No, most things are not fairly black and white. Most things are on a spectrum of things. Most things are like, is there an array? It's not just one or the other.
Where it's just you and your husband and you've got this good life, right? And then on the other end, it's you with like 7 dudes and a chihuahua and I don't know, like all this weird stuff going on, right? Can't you make them? Like, not to be
no, because then you come off as
why
crazy,
would they buy the
or you come off as clingy, or you like, do you know how many?
That all went into effect, the hookup culture and abortion and feminism and all the rest. Women have become less happy. Everybody's become less happy, but women have become especially less happy, even relative to men. So wouldn't you have to look?
No.
Because we're allowed sex without marriage, that's why people don't want to marry anymore.
Bingo.
Okay,
Bingo,
I understand
baby.
hookup culture is a problem, but when there wasn't hookup culture, men were allowed and they had this freedom of being to cheat on their wives and to get away with it.
Look, I don't even know where to start with this one. You've got Michael Knowles sitting across from a panel of women who are so deep in the feminist programming that they can't even see how miserable it's made them. And dude, the mental gymnastics you're about to witness, it's actually insane. These girls are out here defending hookup culture, saying morality is all subjective. Everything's a spectrum, right? And then the second Michael drops basic philosophical truth on them, they short circuit. Like, they literally can't compute that maybe, just maybe, there's an objective right and wrong. And the best part? One of them accidentally admits the whole feminist experiment made women more miserable, not less. But she can't connect the dots. It's wild. You gotta see this. Let's get into it.
That's why that guy's along, because he doesn't like women.
Yeah, literally.
That's why he has enough
I feel
time
like
to
a lot
watch
of these
4-hour
men
podcasts.
Zenty,
Like that
let me
on
just
there.
say.
Married though, shouldn't you be like promoting women?
I think
he is
I've been
promoting
very
women.
pro women
Yeah,
this
he
whole
is
time.
promoting
I've
women.
said it's Michael and the girls against Brian here on
Yeah.
marriage and all the rest. But you don't want to just like simp and be like, oh girls, whatever you're doing is great. Like no, it's gross. It's so gross. Just don't do that.
Maybe there's like a certain extent where it's gross, but like she said, it's not black and white. There's like
It is black and white. Most things are fairly black and white. They're
No,
way more black and white.
No,
than
most things are not fairly
They
black
are.
and white. Most things are on a spectrum of things. Most things are like, is there an array? It's not just one or the other.
But if it's a spectrum, then the spectrum presumably would go from one extreme to the other. And if we're talking
That's why
about
we're
like
saying,
right
can't
and
there be a
wrong and
middle?
like beautiful and ugly and like good and bad, then the clear answers are on the extremes.
No, you think the extreme is the way to go for each thing?
No, we're saying right now you've got a spectrum, right, between like true and false, or good and bad, and
Okay, so like
beautiful and
a
ugly.
spectrum of sex, and there's different sex.
There's like the good, wholesome.
There's
life
like
there.
waiting
Also
for
assuming
marriage.
There's no context, no life experience. Like saying just like there's true and false. Human behavior is so like has such a range and so many different people and like backgrounds and parenting. Like that goes into all that. There can't just be a right and wrong for everything, a black and white for everything.
There is though. There is.
Well,
I don't know why. I don't know why there can't
disagree.
be.
I mean, it's just the same thing with there should be a separation between church
wanna-
and state.
But that, there shouldn't be. I mean,
And
there
you
isn't
don't
any.
agree with that.
Do you
So-
live strictly by Catholic law?
Yeah.
So do
I
you-
try to. I mean, I probably fail all
so-
the time, but I try to.
So you
Speaking
don't-
of Latin, Deus Vult?
Deus vult.
Deus-
Don't pronounce it. All the moderns want to do it the German way, but you got to do it like a good Italian.
How do you?
Deus vult.
It's with a V because I've heard it's pronounced with it's like a W.
Yeah, that's what all the like
Is that
modern
wrong?
weirdos say. Yeah, because if that's true, then Julius Caesar said "Weni Weedy Wiki," which is obviously
Oh, good
absurd.
point. Veni
Veni
Vidi
Vidi Vici, baby.
Oh,
the
that sounds
Adamo.
better.
Yeah, yeah.
That sounds better. Okay, so Deus Vult.
Deus vult.
Can we get some Deus Vult in the chat, boys?
What does
I
it
want
mean,
to
though?
spam it.
It means God wills it. It was a chant during the
yeah.
Crusades.
So you were saying the Zentian's comment kind of interrupted what you were saying though. But so you were saying, I'm seeing this one guy, I'm hooking up with this one guy, but I'm also dating these other guys. You were in the middle of saying something. Do you recall what that was?
I think it was about the black and white. What we just got to.
Okay.
I guess I'll take my like sort of. I don't mean to sound like a church mom or anything, but I'm saying if you were all describing all these weird sexual behaviors, right? And you're saying there's a spectrum, and on this spectrum, let's go from the one end. It's the most trad, good, like wholesome thing where it's just you and your husband, and you've got this good life, right? And then on the other end, it's you with like 7 dudes and a chihuahua, and I don't know, like all this weird stuff going on, right? And so on that spectrum is actually just like good, normal, flourishing
What
behavior.
makes normal?
For
Like,
you?
yeah,
No,
it's good.
for everybody, for all of human history.
No.
Until
So
like
you're
5 minutes
deciding
ago.
that?
No, I'm just looking at history, and I'm looking at also philosophy, and I'm looking at also
I feel like there's been a
anthropology.
lot of terrible things that have happened in history. So why are you looking back at history? I mean, for a long time, that's always been good, but now we have a different look on love. Personally, I don't think hookup culture is great, but a lot of guys will not commit. So
yeah,
you don't want
but can't
them.
you make them? Like, not to be
no, because then you come
old-timey,
off
but
as
why
crazy,
would they buy the
or you
couch?
come off as clingy, or you like. Do you know how many?
Hold on.
Donated $200. These modern women on
Thank you,
panels
Dink.
hate it when someone says something is objectively wrong. Modern women hate accountability, especially when it comes to having consistent morals and ethics. Things are black and white. It's whether you decide to see it or not.
Sam, go ahead.
I think men also hate accountability because, like we
They hate
said,
it
we
more.
pulled out the stats. Men are leaving their kids, and that is the main problem with the world today. Thank you.
Well,
David.
there was something roughly. Okay, so let's say you're saying, okay, there were bad things in the past, and now not everything's perfect, but some things are better. But we're talking about the change that happened with women's lib, right? Basically, the modern feminist stuff, which says we're going to break up the family, we're going to easier divorce, women can go hook up, do whatever you want. And the thing that's weird about this is if you look at all the studies on all happiness surveys, which again, take it with a grain of salt, but it's all you've got on these sociological numbers. Since that all went into effect, the hookup culture and abortion and feminism and all the rest, women have become less happy. Everybody's become less happy, but women have become especially less happy, even relative to men. So wouldn't you have to look at that, at the last 70 years of feminism, and say,
how would
it
you
just
know
didn't
women
work.
are becoming less happy? Aren't men more likely to do suicide now than women? Like, aren't men
Certain, yes.
mental health is more higher in men? So how
Yes,
are women
no, I'm saying
becoming less happy?
everybody is getting less happy, and there is a spike in suicides, especially among older white men, and drug overdoses as well. But if you measure happiness, which again is a very difficult thing to do, but you just take people's measures of happiness, both men and women have declined, but women have declined
Since
at
when?
a faster rate since the 70s.
Because we live on
Since
the internet,
feminism.
probably. Everything is still on the internet. I mean,
This is even
you
before the
watch
internet, though.
TV, you think you're gonna die.
I don't
Maybe
think
because-
it's like. Do we know it's directly caused because of feminism?
I mean, I think studies are all fake anyway, but if
Causation.
you look at all of these happiness surveys, such as they are, the big change that happened in the relations between men and women is the advent of feminism, and it made women completely miserable.
Probably because they became more eye-opened and realized, whoa, my life is
Okay, so let me just break down what just happened here, because this is genuinely hilarious. Michael just laid out the data, and look, I know studies can be flawed, but when every happiness survey for the last 60 years shows the same trend, you gotta pay attention. Women have become measurably less happy since the feminist revolution. Not a little less happy, significantly less happy, even relative to men who are also less happy. And what's the first response? It's probably because of the internet. Bro, the decline started in the 70s. The internet wasn't even a thing until the 90s for most people. Social media? That's 2000s. Like, this girl just tried to blame a trend that's been going on for half a century on something that's existed for maybe 20 years max. And nobody calls her on it except Michael. But here's the thing, and Michael gets this. These girls have been fed a lie their entire lives. They've been told that feminism liberated them, that breaking up the family, making divorce easy, sleeping around, putting career over everything, that was all supposed to make them happier. And it didn't. It made them miserable. The data is crystal clear. But they can't admit it, because admitting it means admitting they've been sold a scam. It means admitting that their grandmothers, who stayed home and raised families and supported their husbands, they actually had it better. And that's so uncomfortable for modern women to accept that they'll blame literally anything else. The internet, mental health awareness, capitalism, anything but the ideology that promised them freedom and delivered loneliness instead. And then, I love this part, one of them asks, how do you know women are less happy? Like, Michael just told you, the surveys, the studies, the data. But she pivots to men's suicide rates, like that somehow disproves his point. Yeah, men are also suffering. Nobody's saying they aren't. But the question is why? And the answer is the same thing Michael's been saying this whole time. The breakdown of the family. Feminism told women they don't need men, told men they don't need women, destroyed the complementary relationship that actually made both sexes happy. And now we're all worse off. You know what's crazy? These girls are living proof of the problem. They're out here defending hookup culture, saying there's no objective morality, acting like sleeping around is empowering. And you can tell none of them actually believe it. You can hear it in their voices. They're trying to convince themselves more than anyone else. Because deep down, they know. They know it's not working. They know they're not happy. But they can't say it out loud because that means the feminists lied to them. And that's too big of a red pill to swallow in one sitting. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this. Do you think women were actually happier before feminism? Or is Michael just making it all up with fake studies? Drop your thoughts below.
Exactly what happened. What they would do, in the New York radical women's groups, these happy women who had good husbands and families would show up happy. I'm not even joking. And they would go through these struggle sessions and they would raise their consciousness and they would leave miserable. And this happened again and again at these meetings. And that's what happened to the whole society over the last 60 years.
Wait, isn't this the same thing as
ignorance is bliss?
Yeah, I feel like they were ignorant before. They opened their eyes from the matrix or whatever the pill.
That's what the feminists say. But no, I think they actually were much better adjusted to reality before, and then they were told a bunch of lies by the feminists about their nature.
When they weren't controlling their own lives and everything was dictated on their husband.
Before when they believed that men and women are complementary and actually made for one another, and that actually we have responsibilities and obligations and not just entitlements to do whatever the hell we want. And then after they went to the struggle session with all the feminists, they were told a lie, which is that men and women are not complementary, but they're indiscernible, basically identical. Woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle. And they were told a lie that they would be much more fulfilled, not working for the good of their husband and children, but instead going out and working for Mr. McGillicuddy, some guy who doesn't care about them at all, so they can work at a job at the widget factory.
That they don't need women, that women are like a fish, they can have many women, men are told the same exact thing.
Yeah, no, that unfortunately is a product of feminism that's affected men too, and it's just all a bunch of BS.
But I feel like that was before feminism. I feel before it was just hidden. Men could cheat on their wives so much more easily.
Because we're allowed sex without marriage. That's why people don't want to marry anymore.
Bingo.
Okay,
Bingo,
I understand
baby.
hookup culture is a problem, but when there wasn't hookup culture, men were allowed and they had this freedom of being to cheat on their wives and to get away with it.
There were mores and even laws against adultery and fornication.
Yeah, but no one would care. They would just turn a blind eye. No one would.
Depends what you mean by no one. I mean, sure, men have been cats for all of human history.
Hold on just a sec, guys.
Super chatted $199.99. Girl in the middle, men abandoning his duty as father is one issue. But you're forgetting that it is the woman's fault for making a baby with him. Since you argued that women are the final decision makers of intercourse, women bear the responsibility of it. It's her fault.
So it's abortion.
No. It's her fault for him deciding to leave his kid.
How would
No.
For his
It's
kid.
the moment you decide to agree to sex and have sex with somebody, you have to accept the fact that you can have a baby with that man, just as you hooking up with somebody.
Yes, but
you can
it's
have
still
the baby
his
with him
fault for
anytime.
leaving. It's not.
He has to also accept the responsibility that he's having a kid as well.
So-
Isn't it a two-person thing? You said you're having the baby too.
It
Yeah,
is
it's
a
also, I
two-person
mean,
thing.
if you're really trad, like you think that men have a leadership responsibility, and so really you would blame the men even more. The same way that Eve eats the apple, right? The serpent goes up to Eve, says, "Eat the apple." Eve eats the apple, but it's still Adam's fault. It's not very feminist, but that's the way it goes in the book.
Well, I'm not religious.
it's-
so-
We're getting back to this religion thing that
I'm
none of
not
us are going to
religious.
agree on.
I think it's fault of both men and women.
Yes,
I think
I
it's
think
just
it's both.
it's the way that our society is right now. I'm kind of
He
the
was
same age
wanting
as
to eat
you,
the apple and
but
convince
like I
Adam.
have a sister that's 10 years younger, and I'm like horrified. I feel so bad for her,
Oh,
just
yeah.
because she's growing up in this world where, well, first of all, you grow up on the internet, and there's a lot of toxic things you see. Then like the hookup culture doesn't help. Like,
I remember
so
thinking-
how do we solve this problem?
Well, you have to eliminate feminism, actually, because I remember thinking when I was in college, I thought the way the hookup culture worked, I thought these women had convinced themselves that they were empowered by sleeping with
Well,
men.
the definition of feminism changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
How do you
There's
mean?
different
Because-
feminism. The feminism initially there's different kind of equality. There's equality of a pay that should be allowed. There's nothing wrong against like paying the same amount of money to people performing the same kind of job on the same
Are
position.
we talking about the wage gap now? Wait, we're just all over the place.
That
a
is
little bit.
that
we
is
gonna talk
part of
about
a
unicorns and
feminist.
hell?
No,
I think,
it is
We're
a
talking
league.
about the wage.
There's different spectrums of feminism. The feminism we are talking about is the one who said that somebody has enslaved women, and then somebody came in the 70s or 80s and sexually liberated them. So now we can sleep around and do whatever that we want because
Yeah.
it's gonna make us happier.
Yeah, that's not
That is
feminism
a wrong.
that I would
yeah.
call feminism. Like I'm for I'm for gender roles. Like I don't want men to
Nice.
like I
Agree.
I have my own
Nice.
gender role. Like I'm not gonna go fight in war, but I want to do my womanly duties, whatever it will be. But I also agree that, we should support men and men should support women.
And you agree with gender roles too.
I agree with what she said at the end, but what about
It's
men
because
supporting women
from
and women
post-Soviet countries.
That's why.
She's from Armenia, from Ukraine.
All right, so let's break down what we just watched. Michael Knowles absolutely dominated this entire conversation. And I mean dominated. Every single time one of these girls threw out a talking point. Morality is subjective. Everything's a spectrum. Women were ignorant before feminism. Michael dismantled it. Not with yelling, not with condescension, just with logic, philosophy, and actual data. And they had no response. None. The best they could do was, well, I don't think studies are real, or it's probably the internet. That's not a rebuttal. That's surrender. But here's what really stood out to me. That moment where Michael brought up the feminist consciousness-raising groups from the 60s and 70s. You know what he's talking about? These were literal struggle sessions where happy women, women with good husbands, good families, good lives, would show up, and the feminists would spend hours breaking them down, convincing them they were oppressed, convincing them their husbands were the enemy, convincing them that their natural role as wives and mothers was some kind of slavery. And these women would leave miserable, genuinely miserable. That's what feminism does. It takes happy, well-adjusted women and makes them bitter, resentful, and lost. And then it tells them that bitterness is enlightenment, that resentment is liberation. It's sick. And the girls on this panel, they're proof the programming works. They've internalized every lie feminism has sold them. They genuinely believe there's no such thing as objective morality. They genuinely believe hookup culture is fine because it's not black and white. They genuinely believe they're better off than their grandmothers were. And the data, the happiness surveys, the mental health stats, the loneliness epidemic, all of it says the opposite. But they can't see it, or they won't see it, because seeing it means admitting they've been lied to their entire lives. The only girl who even came close to getting it was the one from Armenia at the very end. She's from a post-Soviet country. She understands what it looks like when an ideology destroys a society. And she's the only one saying, yeah, I believe in gender roles. I want men to be men. I want women to be women. We should support each other. That's the only sane take on this entire panel. And it came from the girl who didn't grow up drowning in Western feminist propaganda. Michael won this. It wasn't even close. He had the philosophy. He had the data. He had the truth. And all they had were feelings and deflections. That's the difference between someone who's done the work and someone who's just repeating talking points they heard on TikTok. You can't argue with truth. You can deny it. You can ignore it. But you can't beat it. All right, if you made it this far, do me a favor. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. That's what we do here at MB. I'll see you in the next one. Stay sharp.